So now with history, we can jump to any link we want. Assume that in this component there is a form and you want that when the form filling is not completed and in between if a link is clicked, it should prompt the user. It should take the user's concern that do you want to change the page or not. In such case, you can use the prompt component. Let me show you the simple syntax first and try it practically. The prompt component goes like this. You have the prompt. There is an attribute called when, where you give true or false, that is a Boolean value. If I give true, that means prompt when there is a true value. And when I say false, that means prompt when the value is false. The value can be of a variable or a state. Then there is a message attribute which takes a string. That's just a message displayed on the prompt dialog. In general, you have a state which you specify when you give some value to this when attribute. But at the moment, I'm just going to declare a simple variable and we will try to check this component. The first thing I'm going to do is here in the tDetails component, I declare a variable called data entered and I give false. If this is a state, then we keep a track that if the data is entered, I will assign true to it. But at the moment, I keep it false. That means data is not yet entered. That's the kind of flag this variable is containing. Now I want to use the prompt. So first I will import the prompt component here. And now let's use the component. So here I say that when data is not entered, if it is false, then show the prompt. Do you really want to leave? So this message will be on the prompt dialog. So let's go to output. I'll say localhost 3000. Let me click tutorials and I click React 17. Now let me click the go back button. You see the prompt? Let's say cancel. Let's click about. Again the same prompt. Now I will say OK. And you see that it changes the page. Now let's implement another functionality where you can check the next location, and if you want to prevent that navigation, you can do it. Here the message attribute takes a function also. So let me write a function here instead of string. So I'll remove the string. I'll open a curly bracket. I'm going to write an arrow function and there are two parameters passed. I'll say location, comma, action. And here I'll just say return false. Let me just save this. Let's check the output. I'll open the localhost 3000, click on tutorials and regex. Now the prompt is executed. Now if I click any link, let's say home, about, React 17, you see nothing is working. The reason is that prompt is executed and if the function inside the message attribute returns false, it will prevent to leave. Of course, this does not make any sense. So let's say we want to implement a functionality where from this tDetails component, one cannot go on about link. From this component, you can't switch to about link. Rest of the links, if the user selects, that's absolutely fine. So rest of the links are allowed, but about link is not allowed. That's what we want to implement in this particular code. So what I'm going to do here is I already have the location. I'll say location.pathname. If that equals to about, then I'm going to say return false. Otherwise, for rest of the links, I'll say return true. That's it. Let's save this and check it. Again, the localhost 3000 tutorials regex. Now you see if I click on home, I'm allowed to go. But let me again go back to tutorials regex and click on about. You see, I'm not able to switch to about from this component. So this is another practical use of the message attribute, that you give a function and put a validation like this as well. Now let's talk about relative questions. So the first question is, how can you show a prompt before navigating away from a specific page. So we have seen that we use the prompt component to achieve this. This is the syntax, and this is another syntax as well. So you use the prompt in different ways. Now the second question is, how can you prevent navigation for a specific link in the menu? So this is again the prompt, but with a function inside message attribute. So you can implement a function with message attribute in this way to specifically prevent a link.